I am Megan and this is Battle Royale with Cheese, the website where you can get all of your TV and film news, reviews and trailers. Azrael is set in a post-apocalyptic world years after the Rapture has happened, and it stars Samara Weaving, who escapes imprisonment as she is due to be sacrificed to a higher being. So this one actually premiered at Fright Fest. Unfortunately, it was another film that I missed and really wanted to see. I really like Samara Weaving, and this film looked really interesting. And even when people were coming out of the screening, they were saying it was really good, it was really gory, and really well done. So this came out on Shudder over the weekend, so I apologise again. I'm really late with everything. It's been a very busy couple of weeks, so I apologise that this is late. Another film that came out over the weekend, there is going to be a review on tomorrow, so don't worry, you'll get a review video on that one as well. I'm not going to say what it is, but this one came out on Shudder over the weekend, and I'm so happy I finally got to watch it, because I really enjoyed this film so much. The first thing you'll notice about this film, which I think is really unique and interesting, is that immediately you find out that all of the characters are mute. They have chosen, well, at first I thought it was chosen, but they have, chosen to cut their vocal cords and decided not to have the sin of speech, so as to appease the gods. So every character in this, aside from one halfway through the film, is mute, which I really liked. Due to the absence of dialogue, I think it does give the actors a bit of a challenge. They have to really emote through their facial expressions, through their movements and actions of what they're trying to convey and what they're wanting to say, even though they can't. And I really liked this aspect of the film. I thought it was really unique. Not something that happens often, which is a shame. I feel like more films need to have, even though I know the reasoning is different, I know that with this one, for them it's a deliberate choice, but I feel like we need to have more mute representation in films, because I really enjoyed this aspect of the film. It also means that it doesn't give you everything. You have to kind of guess or figure out what they're saying, what they're trying to convey, which a lot of the times is actually, it's really well done, and it's not too difficult to understand what they're trying to convey or what they're trying to say through their actions, through their hand gestures like I'm doing. But what I also like, which actually interestingly A Quiet Place did, is that the sound design is louder than what it should be or what is expected to be, to make up with the lack of dialogue. It created more tension because everyone was so quiet. You didn't know when you were suddenly going to hear, the snap of a twig or someone suddenly appearing. And it made it really tense. The film is really good at creating tension because of that, but also because of Samara Weaving's character is just constantly running away from this tribe who want to sacrifice her. She is constantly going through so much, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But the sound design was really good because of that. But then it also makes it a bit weird, or it makes you feel like, talking does happen. There's a moment halfway through the film where someone does talk, and immediately I thought, that's weird, because by this point you've gotten used to the fact that no one is talking, no one is speaking, and even when near the end of the film someone screams and it's literally just like that kind of noise, like a really wheezy, like a really wheezy sort of husky voice. So there is a character who comes along halfway through the film who does actually talk. And it does feel really weird and jarring, which I liked because it put you in the perspective of Samara Weaving's character, where she's never heard talking before. So she finds it weird as well at the same time. But what I like with that character is the film creates another obstacle in that they don't speak the same language. So the person that she comes across isn't an English language speaker, which I really liked. It was another obstacle of yeah, neither of you can communicate to each other properly. And in that, I really liked that. It created a challenge for both of them. But at the same time, it was weirdly sweet in a sense of, despite them not being able to communicate very well with each other, they were still able to understand each other. They're both in this same situation to an extent of being in this post-apocalyptic world, just trying to survive. And yeah, in that I found it quite sweet. But yeah, I thought that was a really interesting obstacle to bring up. With that, okay, you think you're going to hear dialogue, and you do, but it's not a dialogue unless you are a speaker of that language. It's not a dialogue that you'd understand, and not a dialogue that she would understand, which I really, really liked. And yeah, so like I was saying a minute ago, Samara Weaving gets put through a lot. She gets put through a lot. And I remember her from Ready or Not, which was released in, I want to say 2019. That was one I saw at Fright Fest as well. That was a closing film for one of the days. That was fantastic. She's amazing. I love her so much. And yeah, she's incredible in this as well. But yeah, she gets put through a lot. I feel like she got a bit of a break when she was in Guns Akimbo from a couple of years ago. And here she goes again on constantly trying to run away from someone, constantly getting put through the absolute ringer, covered in blood by the end of the film. And I know that a lot of people were worried, like, okay, if all of the characters are gonna not speak. A lot of people were saying that was a bit of a waste on Samara Weaving because she has an incredible voice. Her scream is just wow. It's very animalistic and very raw, but obviously that's not here. So a lot of people were worried, were like, okay, is that actually going to be a negative towards her acting? And it really isn't. Like, she can do character acting and non-verbal acting really, really well. Once again, you really feel sorry for her. You're immediately on her side. And yeah, so she is a sacrifice for these creatures, I want to say. They look like these like humanoid burnt corpses, and even the sound they make is very much like the 30 Days of Night vampires, like when they do the weird raspy scream. It's very much like that. They are terrifying. They are so terrifying. I feel like the director and writer watched The Descent when writing those characters, like writing those creatures. I really feel like they looked at The Descent and the creatures in that and went, okay, let's draw inspiration from that, because it reminds me a lot of them, as well as 30 Days of Night and the vampires in there. And they are terrifying. And they're the main reason why the film is gory and quite gruesome. And the effects are really, really well done as well. It's very, very graphic when it needs to be. It's not constantly gory, but it's graphic when it really needs to be. And the film does not waste time in really showing you those effects. You get up close with the gruesomeness a few times, but it's really, really well done. I really, really enjoyed Azrael. I thought it was fantastic. It was definitely worth the wait. Samara Weaving is fantastic as ever. But we have come to the end of the non-spoiler section, so I originally wasn't going to do a spoiler section for this video, and then the ending happened, and I kind of want to talk about that. And there's a couple things about the creatures that I can't talk about here without spoiling it. So yeah, if you haven't seen this film yet, I'm about to go into spoiler section. I'll put a spoiler image in between me talking, and then when I continue and start the spoiler review. But if you have seen it, hi, I'm about to spoil it. So there's not too much to spoil with this. The first one I want to talk about is the creatures and my theory of what they are. So I think the film at the beginning explains that the event that took place that caused this apocalypse was the rapture, as in from the Bible, people get sent up to heaven, everyone else gets left here to burn, that kind of thing. And I feel like the burnt up creatures are the ones that the Rapture talks about, where it's like, oh, they're burned for their sins. It seems to me that, and even in the beginning there's a text that comes up saying that the humans who were left alive, some of them got rid of the sin of speech. So I feel like the sins that these people committed were maybe they were saying bad things, or they were saying things that weren't good in the eyes of a god. And so they get left down on earth because even the creatures aren't able to speak. The tribe the Samara weaving is imprisoned by, they've cut out their vocal cords. I kind of feel like that's what that was implying. But the creatures themselves, my theory is that these were the humans that were left to burn, and the people who survived the burning and weren't able to burn were either neutral or they were able to hide really well. So that's my theory on what I think was going on there. The main thing I want to talk about is the ending. So I purposely didn't tell you what the full working title of this film was. So the full working title of the film, when it premiered at Fright Fest, was Azrael, Angel of Death. This film has quite a few religious undertones. I think it was for the better that they didn't release this under the full title, because technically that does spoil the ending. Essentially, Samara Weaving does find out that, yes, she is the Angel of Death. She is the new leader of this world and the new bringer of life on this world. So what happens is, throughout the film, she's constantly getting, bones broken, slashed, punched, beaten, and yet she still survives. And I originally thought, okay, it was the same thing in Ready or Not, so maybe they just, it's plot armor. And then at one point, one of the creatures comes up to her and decides not to kill her. She then goes back to the tribe's church, confronts or tries to confront the church leader who is pregnant, but the church leader ends up birthing this little creature. It looks like a mix between a dinosaur and that baby thing from the Elephant Man, which I assume it's the Antichrist. Like, that's what she's given birth to. And at the end, all of the burnt up humanoid creatures all hear the crying and screaming of this baby thing and come and gather at the church. The final shot is Samara Weaving picks up the baby, smiles at it and cradles it, and she is standing in front of the church's circular window. And as the camera pulls down, so it's looking sort of up at her, the image is that of, she has like a Virgin Mary halo, or like an angel halo. So it's assumed that she is the Antichrist version of that. That's what I got from this anyway. I really liked the ending, because now that I think about it, and on a rewatch this will be really interesting, it does plant seeds there of what's going on. Her constantly surviving what she should not survive. She survives a really harsh car crash at one point. There's also literally the first shot of the film is of these drawings on the church wall, where one is of the Virgin Mary holding a baby, and then the other one is all of the creatures, the heads of these creatures surrounding a blonde girl, which is assumed to be Samara Weaving. And originally you think, okay, well that means that all of these creatures are going to swarm around her because she is the sacrifice, they're going to eat her. That's not what it means at all. Once you see the ending, the drawing has a new meaning. It's actually, she is this new god, essentially. She is this new ruler, she is the mother of this Antichrist, or the forced mother, because the biological mother does not want to know. She immediately slits her throat upon seeing the baby. So, but I really, really liked this ending. That's what I got from it anyway. That's what I assumed was going on. But I really, really liked it. And again, yeah, on a rewatch, this will be really interesting to see if there were any other hints other than the ones that I've mentioned as to what was actually happening and where it was going. But yeah, I really enjoyed this film. It is on Shudder, so if you have Shudder, I think it's in the UK and America. It came out over the weekend, so if you have a Shudder account, I would really recommend this. But I was Megan, this is Battle Royale with Cheese. See you soon.